A few years ago, we bought a mini camper. We have put a ton of work into fixing it up, and now it looks like this. In this video, we're going to be going through our entire refurbishment process, plus the trials and errors we've gone through and continue to go through in fixing up this tiny camper. We bought this camper in the summer of 2022, and what we thought would be a pretty easy and quick refurbishment has turned into a 2.5-year-long process.
My God, has it been that long?
And it's still not done yet. We are not experts at all. We are total beginners at this. We're still learning things about this camper every single day. If you haven't watched the first video about this camper, we go into a lot of details about buying it and what it was like before. We'll go ahead and link it up here and down in the description so you can check that out. This camper was built in 1983 by a company that does not even exist anymore. We bought it off of Facebook Marketplace, and it was drab and falling apart kind of. So our first order of business was to clean things up and make sure all the outside screws and everything are waterproof. Let me take you through some of the stuff I'm going to be doing on the exterior of this camper. There's a bunch of rusted out screws on the exterior, so I'm going to be replacing those screws and making sure that's all watertight. I'm going to take this trim off, clean it up, add new sealant. I'm also going to be polishing this aluminum trim around the door and the windows and the whole of the camper so it's nice and shiny like chrome. I'm going to paint the whole thing, so it's going to get a whole new coat of paint and a whole new look. So I went and got my heavy duty scouring pad, and I'm gonna try a little bit of just elbow grease, and I tested a little corner of one of the windows and it actually seems to really be working, so I might just have to scrub this thing, and my right arm is gonna be super jacked when I'm done. So this is what it looked like before, and this is after the scouring pad. You can see it's all under my nail. Good old barkeeper's friend. This is fantastic for everything. Polishing metal, ceramic, anything like that, because it's slightly abrasive. I swear I use this for like everything. A little bit of water to rinse it off. And that is what I got off just from this little corner, so it is very dirty. Okay, I've taken all the screws off of this one piece of trim. This is the first kind of destructive thing that I've done. I'm kind of scared. But I peeked underneath. The seal really needs to be replaced, so that's my justification for it. There we go. Like, look at all the missing parts that need sealing, like, ooh. So all the aluminum trim and the aluminum pieces on the camper were really hard to clean off. I stripped it, cleaned it, and polished it, and I think it's looking a lot better. And then we sealed the edges with the sealant. This is our first time working with the sealant, which you can definitely tell, but hopefully once we paint the outside, it'll kind of camouflage in a little bit. Also, I replaced the screws. The screws before were very rusted. These are roofing screws that have washers that have neoprene on them, so it makes them watertight. And underneath the trim, I put new butyl tape, so I want to get a good watertight seal so it doesn't leak. Now, this camper was made in 1983, and right now the color is very 80s chic, and I don't love it. So I am painting the whole exterior of it. I'm doing white on top and red on the bottom to kind of make it look kind of retro, like an old Shasta camper, and do some chrome details to make it look pretty retro and 60s style. Before you paint anything, what you want to do is clean it really well to make sure the paint sticks. So I've got the hose out here, and I'm gonna give it a good scrub. So I'm gonna paint the white part first. Gonna get the door, and I'm doing this little Z pattern, which is common on the old Shastas, so hopefully this turns out okay. I've never done anything like this before, and this is just one side, and I still have half of this side to go, so I bought a lot of tape. Hello, as you can see, I am very sweaty yet again. I have finished the red part of this side of the trailer. I taped a bunch of magazine pages up here to protect the white part. Now, while the paint is still wet, I am going to peel the tape off because you're supposed to do it when it's still wet, and it's like unwrapping a present because I get to see how good or bad of a job I did. So overall, I did a pretty good job. There's a couple spots where I'll have to touch it up. I definitely was being impatient yesterday and didn't wait until the white was completely dry. So there are more spots to touch up than there were on the other side. I just want to get it done, but it's okay. I think it came out really well overall. I'm keeping parts of it taped up because I still have to do a clear coat, and I don't want to get that on the windows, but overall, looks pretty good. So now I'm starting on the inside. The inside is painted brown. I don't know why he painted it that color, but I'm gonna paint it white and put some mid-century modern touches in there just to make it cute, make it kind of light and bright, hopefully make it feel a little bit bigger. So I took the bed cushions out, which pretty much takes up almost all of the trailer. Then I'm going to sand the walls and paint them white.
How's it going?
My precious. I'm just like Gollum in here. It's hard to paint and kneel at the same time, but it's going well. I'm painting the entire thing white, which as of right now it looks too white, but I'm hoping once we get everything back in here it'll look a little bit better. At least it's better than brown, I guess.
Yeah.
I sprayed all the walls with primer and now I am painting with a brush just because I thought that would be easier instead of taping everything off. It's coming along.
So in the back kitchen area, there's some definite improvements that we want to make. The first being, the guy who had this before had the propane tank and the batteries back here. Now these are lead acid batteries, and you're really not supposed to have those in the same area that you're sleeping, and you're definitely not supposed to have a propane tank in the same area that we're sleeping. So we want to get these out of here and move them to the front of the trailer. So the previous owner had this little toolbox that was kind of mounted on the front here. Now what I'd really like to do is figure out a way to put the propane tank and the battery right here, but it's pretty small right now, so we're definitely gonna have to construct some sort of thing, maybe hire somebody to do a little welding. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen here, but hopefully we'll be able to figure out how to get the propane tank and the battery on the front. There's definitely the concern of this only being 4 feet wide, and you can really only go out so far without having the corner of whatever we build hit the car when we're doing a sharp turn. The tongue's very short also. Yeah, still kind of scratching my head about this one, but I'm confident I'll figure something out.
Mini brackets for a mini trailer.
So we ended up hiring a welder to create a new piece for the front where we're gonna put our propane tank and our battery. We had to go off center in order for this to still crank, and there really wasn't much way that we could move that. So the plan is to put the battery here, which is about 50 pounds, and then we're gonna put the propane tank right here, which is only about 10 pounds. And there we go. That's what it's gonna kind of look like. I bought this little bracket off of Amazon, and the plan is to mount this right here. So the propane tank is gonna be attached to the actual trailer, and then I will attach both of these on the bottom as well. I've got the new propane line going from the propane tank in the front to the stove in the back, and we decided to zip tie it up to the bottom of the frame.
Start on the back kitchen. I am ripping pretty much everything out. There's some nasty flooring down here and some other things that we don't need. So I'm pretty much gonna start from scratch. I've taken off the countertop with the stove, and the batteries and the propane were back here, took those out. I'm even going so far as to put new flooring in this thing because this is just not gonna cut it.
One of the next things we want to do on the camper is to attach the solar panel. The guy who owned this camper before us always had the solar, and he'd just take it down every time that he needed to travel, and that just doesn't make sense to us. So we decided that we wanted to bracket it on the roof, and we actually upgraded from a 50-watt solar panel that he had to a 100-watt solar panel.
We're making pretty big changes. As you can see, it looks a lot different than it did the last time we showed you. Clearly all of the walls have been painted white and clear coated. Put down a peel and stick floor. It's kind of pointless because our mattress pads cover most of it anyway, but still, it's the principle of the thing. And I also covered this wood ledge over here with some contact paper to make it look like a terrazzo. Now, does anyone have a tiny little mop that we can use for inside this thing? Because this floor is already super dirty.
We wanted to get a new charge controller from the one that was originally in this camper when we purchased it, just because it was a super cheap old one. And with our solar panels and our new battery, I feel like this is just a necessary upgrade. We were actually gifted this one, so it didn't cost us anything out of pocket, so it made sense to put it in. But we have hooked up our Rover 40 amp charge controller. It's by Renology, which is the same brand of the solar panels that we put in. But we've got it all hooked up with the battery lines coming in right through here. We'll eventually put those a little closer and like attach them to the wall there. You won't really see any of this because it's all going to be underneath where the bedding is. And we've got our solar lines coming in. So that's all hooked up, working. It's charged 100%, so that's good news. And the next thing to do is to install the inverter and then run lines from the inverter to the battery.
Painting our vintage stove. Countertop is put back together and now it's time to install.
Wow, it looks so much better.
Definitely a difference.
We're sending you back to the future.
One of the biggest transformations is this back kitchen area. We put this faux subway tile backsplash here. It's peel and stick, yay for that. We added a little shelf for functionality. Still all the cords and things are back here. You can't really cover those up. There's no drywall or anything to put those behind. We put this little hook to keep this from slamming open because it can open 180 degrees. That was something we realized the first time we... See? It actually works, I swear. There we go. That was something we noticed the very first time we used it, was that this was just flapping in the wind, so we needed something to stabilize it a little bit. Another thing we learned was that when the doors close, this hook bounces around, so we put another latch for it out here to hook it in when we're driving, and so it just lives right there. And this is just for cooking purposes, so we can set things on here and have a little bit more counter space. And this is also peel and stick countertop here, which is kind of cool.
And to be honest, this back area is still very much a work in progress. We wanted this camper to be completely off-grid. And actually we designed it so you can't plug it in. The only way to power this stuff is off solar. One of the biggest issues that we had was finding the right fridge. I went for a fridge off Amazon that I thought would work. It was about 175 bucks. It didn't work at all. The solar power that we had just didn't have enough juice for it, so it didn't work. So we ended up picking up a cooler style Dometic fridge, which is fantastic. This runs off a DC port, but these are very expensive. Luckily we were able to get one secondhand and it wasn't too bad, but I think brand new they go for $600, $700, $800. Yeah, Dometic is kind of the gold standard for RV stuff. So we're still figuring out some sort of storage solution for our pots and pans right here. So the USPS priority mailbox won't be here forever. Honestly though, it's worked pretty good so far, so we'll see how long it stays. There was a wall here originally, which we had to move to be able to fit in the fridge. So we moved the inverter over to this side. We did keep the original inverter here. I had to build a small box with a switch and the DC port just to be able to plug in the fridge, which was also on that wall that we took out. One of the issues we're running into with the Dometic fridge though is it opens from the top. So you can't open it right here and be able to get into it. So I have built a little slide out that kind of works, but it's still a work in progress. Yeah, it does work, but I just don't feel super confident with it. I don't think it's strong enough. So we're not exactly sure what's gonna happen with the Dometic fridge and how we're gonna keep this in here. When we travel, we always just put it in the back of my car because my car has a DC port in there, so we can just have it run off the car battery. Mainly we do that so it doesn't bounce around back here because some stuff does move and I haven't found a good way to secure this yet. So if you have any ideas of a solution for this fridge problem, I would love to hear them in the comments because it's something I've racked my brain around for a long time.
One of the things we went back and forth on was whether or not we wanted to and could fit a little sink in the back here. They do make really small sinks for RVs, but after careful consideration, we decided that it just wouldn't fit. It would take up too much counter space and the bowl hangs down really low and we just didn't want to deal with all that. So our solution was to buy a portable sink. They actually have these on Amazon. Amazon has frickin' everything, I swear. It's a plastic sink that you put together every time. It's got water in the bottom, it's a pump sink, and it just works for basically just washing our hands and anytime we might need to brush our teeth or something if there's not a bathroom available. Since I was going for a vintage 1950s Shasta look, I replaced the tail lights, which I had no idea how to do. YouTube University for the win. Obviously painted the back, put some shiny trim on, and got it registered under our name with a new license plate and a shiny chrome license plate frame. Let's show you the inside. If you remember from the last video, the interior is basically just one big bed. But before, it was very brown and drab in here. So pretty much all we did inside was paint everything white. We didn't redo any of the walls or do any structural stuff. We just wanted to paint it white so it would kind of brighten it up a little bit and make it look a little bit bigger. And we did a few new additions, which I personally think are genius. We added some storage nets anywhere we could, basically. I think we have 4, which is awesome. I added the peel and stick countertop to this little shelf that we have in here. I thought it would be a fantastic idea to put little cup holders. So we have 2 little wall-mounted cup holders. Originally, we were going to change the curtains, but we decided that these ones just kind of work. They were in here when we bought this thing. So we decided the black and white actually goes. Another thing we kept the same is the little power port station up here that runs off the solar. It's got 2 USB ports plus a DC port, which is really handy because we just basically charge our phones with that. A couple new additions. We don't have much airflow unless we have the windows open, so when it gets hot, we decided to buy this little USB powered fan, which actually we love so much. We have more than one of them now that we keep in our house. It is really fantastic. It like goes every which way, so we can hang it or place it up here. And honestly, it has been pretty clutch. There's obviously no mirror in here, so I bought this little LED makeup mirror light, so in case you need a mirror, perfection. But one of the coolest additions we've made, I think, we hung a projector screen from the ceiling here. Boom, look at that. That's pretty sweet. We bought a projector. It's kind of a mini projector, but it's still a little bit bigger than some of the ones you can get on the market. But we basically bought that one because it had spaces for USB. So there's like a bunch of different ways you can actually watch movies. And we used it last night and it was super awesome. Actually, we have a little movie theater in our camper, which is amazing. Works perfectly, actually. I think it's one of the things that's actually worked the best in here.
One other thing that we wanted to do was replace these tires. We actually had a flat tire on this side, so we used that as an opportunity just to upgrade the tires. We went for the biggest tire that you could purchase with the 4-hole pattern. And actually this trip is the first time we've used the new tires and they work really well. It doesn't bounce around as much. Feel a little bit better about going on the freeway and going long distances because the other ones were really small. They look like they belonged on a golf cart.
So obviously there are a few things that still need to be done. It's just a work in progress. I honestly don't know if it'll ever actually be finished.
Probably not. I think it's always going to be a work in progress. Another thing we need to figure out is the awning. We haven't put that back on. We've had a rip in it and it's kind of hard to find the right size awning for this. Haven't really needed it yet, but we haven't done any peak summer camping, so we'll see how that goes. Got to figure out what's going on with the fridge and the storage of that and the slide out and then some more kitchen storage. So yeah, totally a work in progress, but it's been really fun. We love this little thing so much. Every time we take it out, we're just so stoked on it. And we are going to do a lot more trips this year. We have a big road trip throughout California planned for May, so stay tuned. We're gonna be taking this to a lot of different places and making a lot more videos about this tiny camper.
Stay tuned. But for now, this is Kelly and Kevin from the Awkward Campers. Peace out.